defining what does love mean to you. Because if love means it's complicated, if love means it's conditional, if love means there are strings attached, if love means it's borderline manipulative or abusive, well then no wonder why when you're like, you hear all this stuff in your news feed about self-love and love yourself. If you love yourself, you would do this, this, and this, and you're like, fuck yeah. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Dana Project where Mandy and I are having some cool conversations here on the YouTube. Thank you so much for our feedback on the last one. Really appreciate it. So good to hear from you guys. So today, Mandy and I are going to talk about self-love. Self-love, I think, is a complicated topic. It comes with baggage. It is like, oh, I'd love to love myself, but there can sometimes when you say that, there can be like this cringy internal resistance to that. So I want to talk a little bit about my process of how I've learned to love and accept myself, because it's been a process. And I think Mandy can certainly share her process as well. It's not something that just like all of a sudden you wake up and you love yourself. It's there's a little more to it than that. And I think patience is a huge part of it. Patience, understanding, and compassion, and giving yourself grace as well. So the reason we want to talk about this topic now is we're releasing the video, this video around Valentine's Day. And now I personally have never been a big fan of Valentine's Day, believe it or not. I mean, I've always dated somebody. I've always been with somebody. I'm with my husband 20 years now, 21 years. I always lose track.
Wow, you're so old.
I know. But even before I met Steve, around Valentine's Day, I was always with somebody. But I just don't like that idea of a obligatory type of expression of love. I love random acts of showing love. And actually, Steve and I did our love languages. Have you ever done the love language?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have. How you know? That's funny. Say more, because that's
Okay.
always fun.
Okay, so yeah, Steve and I did our love language test, and it's so funny because neither of us give a shit about celebrating our birthdays, or we don't give gifts, and we never have. Well, our love language came back that both of us scored about the same in our how much we value service and how much we value quality time together. And we both scored gifts way down low. I scored my top love language actually is physical touch. Growing up, like my mom always called me lovey-dovey because I would always like find a little crevice in her armpit and curl up on the couch. So I've always been like super cuddly and affectionate like that. So that's my top, but we scored about the same for service and quality time. And that's amazing that we've matched that. But even if you haven't matched that, I don't know. Did you and Jim do your love language?
The way that Jim shows his love is through acts of service. Like okay. I could say that about Steve too. I'm like, I knew that about Steve before he even said it, because Steve's always doing stuff for people and making things and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how Jim is too. For me, it's quality time. That's what I like. I like quality time and touch too, because I'm a real lovey-dovey as well. And what Jim likes is quality time as well. So like for me to give to him is quality time, hanging out with them, doing the things he likes to do. Yeah. And gifts, we don't care about gifts. It's nice. It's nice to get. It's lovely. Like when someone says, I saw this and I thought of you and I got this for you. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. One of those things. But for me, it's like, if I know that you're going shopping to get me a present specifically for Valentine's Day, it's not the same as if somebody was out somewhere on a random day and saw it and thought of me. That's so cute.
100%. I agree. 100%. And that's also why, Steve and I, we don't have kids or anything. It's the two of us. We're grown-ass adults. I could buy myself whatever the fuck I want all year long.
Yes,
and he can
that's
as
the
well.
hard thing.
So I'm like, I mean, once in a while, like he has gotten a t-shirt or done something like that randomly. He's like, oh my God, I saw this and I had to get this for you. Or he's like, oh, I can't wait. Because then it's more specific and it doesn't matter the time of year. It doesn't matter that it's Valentine's Day. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean that I don't we won't maybe well, to be honest, we won't even really like to go out to eat because I think it's just overrated. Everything's overpriced and it's like,
Yeah.
eh.
And
So,
it's
I mean,
crowded. It's super
yeah,
crowded.
yeah. So we find our other ways of random acts of love and celebration all year long, all
Mhm.
year long. So, however, that being said, with Valentine's Day, for some people, and I'd love to hear in the comments or from anyone who's watching this, like, what does Valentine's Day mean to you? You know, what meaning have you assigned it? Because what I would like to talk about first and foremost, in our topic of self-love and like how uncomfortable that can be sometimes, is also defining what does love mean to you? Because if love means it's complicated, if love means it's conditional, if love means there are strings attached, if love means it's borderline manipulative or abusive, well then no wonder why when you're like you hear all this stuff in your news feed about self-love and love yourself. If you love yourself, you would do this, this, and this, and you're like, fuck yeah.
Mhm.
You're like, I don't even know what that means.
So foo-foo too. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah,
Like anything like that. Like live, laugh, love. It's like
right.
say it, sometimes the words don't even mean anything after a while.
Exactly. So it's the what is the meaning you're assigning to the word love? And I have often said, I wish like I think in other languages there is more than one word for love because there's kind of different kinds of love. You have the motherly love, you have like sisterly love, friendship love, you have intimate love. But we all in the English language use one word.
Mhm.
And that's makes it also complicated. Don't you
Mhm.
think?
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, I think that with the whole like love yourself thing that you were talking about, like with the internet and everything, I would be like, sure, okay, love myself. But then there's this point of like, am I being too egotistical? Am I like being braggadocious? Like, I don't want to be that jerk who's like, I'm the best. There's that wall that I end up hitting where I don't want to be too cocky about it. So, because I want to, I was brought up in an era where that wasn't cool, I guess. Like it was more cool to be like, oh, me, I'm just, little old quiet me, just being so beautiful, waiting for the world to come see me. And I don't want to be too big. I don't want to be too small.
Seriously, I remember in like when I was in high school in the 90s, back
Mhm.
in the grunge era,
Yep.
it was kind of cool to be dark and self-loathing.
Yeah.
Like that was cool.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, so that's what I mean. If you're going back and you're like, yeah, but it's almost like it would be weird that you loved and accepted yourself. And I don't know
Yeah.
if that's just a teenage thing or if that was like a decade or an era thing or if it continues to like maybe now I kind of feel like, my nieces are it seems that it's more accepting that they do feel good about themselves and they love themselves. Um, and this younger generation has their other slew of issues with anxiety and some other things going
Yeah.
on. So I don't want to say that across the board that it's so much easier in this next generation. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that it just seems that maybe the work of our generation has started to at least alleviate and be like, it's okay to feel proud of yourself. It's okay to feel like, up on your high horse, right? Like
Mhm.
it's okay to have accolades and feel really good about yourself and even like be a little braggadocious because it's like
Mhm.
listen, if you're really good at something and you've worked your way up and you've earned that skill, like freaking taunt it, like be proud of
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if that's just like our era of like it wasn't cool to really like yourself, you know.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of all the TV shows that I watched in the 90s. There was the the woman wouldn't the women were always very, yeah, like quiet and mysterious, and they didn't take up space. They were quiet, but then like all the guys wanted to know what was going on with her and all of that. And like I Dawson's Creek or Felicity, like I'm thinking of the 90s WB movie TV shows that I used to watch,
Yeah,
where
Ally
like
McBeal, where she
Ally
had like,
McBeal,
right?
she didn't take up, well, I guess kind of she did, but she definitely had low self-esteem, and that was part of it. It's like, oh no, I have low self-esteem. All of the, yeah, I can't think of one proud character. And also, if you were a proud character, you were the bitch.
Right.
I think that's
That's what
still
I'm
now.
saying.
Like, can we be like proud and happy and proud and all that, but also like kind? No, it's like hard to find a
Uh-huh.
character like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you can associate self-love if with any of the things like Mandy, you and I are talking about, then no wonder why at this stage of in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, no wonder why you're still trying to figure it out because we've got to kind of reverse engineer where does this even come from or what are those layers about? And it's like, well, maybe underlying it's kind of like it's not a cool factor. I'm not like, if I'm one of the, or if I am somebody who really loves and accepts herself, then associated with that is bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a bitch,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
like or be up on her high horse or braggadocious or snooty or all those things, which I mean total double standard. If a guy were to do any of that,
Oh,
it's
that's
not, it's assertive, it's
yeah.
it's like
Oh,
admirable,
it's
it's
so good. Yeah. All the
bold,
women
it's
love him. A
it's
man's a man.
attractive, right? Yeah, but so it's complicated, right? So I feel like honestly, years ago when I was starting to come up with my mindset course, I was my sister and I are really close, and she's 3 years younger than me. But as I'm kind of flushing out and trying to reverse engineer, Dana, how did you heal your relationship with food, and like how could you actually put this down and I knew self love was part of the puzzle and part of the piece, but like my sister and I were joking that maybe we need to call the mentorship program "Loathe Yourself Less" because
Yeah.
because there's
Oh
such
my
a
God.
level there's
Yeah.
such a level of
Forget
like,
about love. Just don't hate
forget
yourself as
about
much.
love. Like, Dana, pie in the sky, that's absolutely insane. I don't even know how that's going to happen in this lifetime. But can I just loathe myself less? Can I just
Hmm.
like maybe take it down a notch? So I just, had to share that in our conversation today that came up as I was thinking like, oh, we're going to be talking about self-love, but I'm trying to like remember how I was back 10 years ago and how like I mean, I really had such self-hatred and like looked at myself in a certain way that was like really difficult to accept. Body issues I had, how I saw myself, like certain characteristics, never good enough, that kind of a thing. And I had to deal with it piece by piece, layer by layer, and literally was like, well, can I loathe myself a little less today? Can I loathe myself a little? So never mind, can I love myself more today? It was actually the opposite. That's how I started, like kind of building a little momentum, and eventually it tipped. And then it wasn't like, oh, wait a second. Then it turned into um, not loathing myself less, but actually having care and concern for myself. I
Hmm.
have care and concern, and now I have respect coming in, and now I have value coming in, and all these other words that may not be directly love but associated in that direction. And that I just felt like was so important to talk about today, like the other words besides love, of how can you redirect to like what's going to take you out of the self-loathing into making the small changes that, not because you have to, but because like the inner part of your soul, like you want to, you want to. So it's like speak to that part, the love, the self-respect, the I value myself, I desire more, being honest with your desires, and those kinds of things.
What I'm going to say is that for me, it was really hard to care for myself healthily, like in a healthy way, until I started to look at myself as someone I had to take care of, if that makes any. I
Yeah.
I like I was
Yeah.
always I have to take care of everybody else, my kids, my family, my husband, my mom and dad. Like I care for their feelings and or my friends and their feelings and whatever and support them and be their cheerleader and be a good friend and it was really it didn't make sense to me to be turn it around and take care of myself and be my own cheerleader and it was hard. And then some one day just clicked that if I was to take care of my kids, if I was to be caring for my children, which is my easiest thing because I have three kids, and I love being a mom and I love doing those things. So some people might say, "Oh, I was taking care of my inner child or whatever," but I like I started with my little hack of saying if I was to be talking to my son at say like I'm gonna say like at come home from school and he's hungry and he's exhausted, I wouldn't say, well, you have to clean your bedroom, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do. I would never do that to him because he's exhausted, he's tired, he's hungry. And I'd be like, why don't you sit down for 30 minutes and watch TV and have a snack before you do your homework and before you start doing the things you have to do? That's simple for me to say that to my son. But for me to say it to myself, like, why don't you sit down? You've had a long day. Give yourself 30 minutes to relax before you hit the ground running and starting all of the things you got to do when you walk in the door at home. That was tough for me. But then like I said, I flipped it around and I said, what would I say to Harrison? What would I say to my son in all of these situations for all of the things? And that started to change my perspective really quickly on self-love.
Yeah, that's such a smart hack because the other thing that you bring up that is important to acknowledge is getting your needs met.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other part of it. Like if you are sitting there looking at the relationship between you and your son and you're making sure your son's needs are met, but you're not getting your own needs met, the other part of this, the critical component is the personal responsibility. That piece is so important. No one else is responsible for you but you. You're an adult. We're speaking to adults here. You're a capable adult. And at some point, and I know, stomp your feet. I go through it with all of my clients. Stomp your feet. You can cry. It's totally fine and whine about it, but no one is coming in to save you. You've got to put on your big girl panties and get your own needs met.
Right, right.
You've
And
got
it's
to
not
get
like,
your own
oh,
needs met.
and when you think of like someone, no one's going to come save you, it's not like, oh, they're not like, my husband will do the laundry if I
Hmm.
don't feel like doing the laundry. Sure. That's not the same thing as me saying, I need to sit down for 5 minutes. That's
Yes.
me. My
Yes.
husband's never going to show up for me and read my mind and say, oh, you need to sit down for 5 minutes or you need to get off your ass and start doing something. Like there's all of that too. Like working out, exercising, taking care of my body. I need to eat. I need to sleep. I need to move my body. No one else is going to do that for me. So
Even if he did.
if I loathe
Mhm.
myself, will I do those things? Maybe for a minute, just out of self-loathing, but I won't do it because I want to do it.
Hmm. And the truth is, even if Jim were to come in and say, sit your ass down and relax, you know as well as I do, if
Yep.
you're not in that frame of mind, you're like, don't tell me what to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
can handle it. So that's kind of what I mean. Like, no one's going to come in and save you. There could be really good support around you, but are you even willing to accept that support and then actually listen and be like, right, I could take 5 minutes and relax?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, in that 5 minutes, maybe that's all you need to recharge your batteries. It's sometimes in our head, we think we need, oh my God, I wish I could just clear my schedule. How about just 5 minutes in the car in silence before you go in for your doctor appointment or whatever that is? I was just
Yeah.
meeting someone here at the studio and she got here early and it was like, wasn't it nice to just sit in the car for 10 minutes and actually not like, because she just got here early and I was like, oh, I'll meet you. I'll let you in when I get there. But it's like, yeah, from all the running around, just take a few minutes and just and the guilt that
Yeah.
comes, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it feels uncomfortable.
Hmm.
It feels uncomfortable because we're in such a world of quick, 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 go, go, go. My mom was just saying this morning, she's like, everyone just looks to brag about how busy they are all the time. Why are we all so damn busy? Can we just like stop bragging about that? That's not self-care. Busy,
No,
busy,
because then that's
busy.
avoidance. That's
Mhm.
avoidance, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we're speaking about this topic. Mandy is, a couple years into the mentorship
Yeah.
working with her. And, and I've been years following my own like framework and uncovering every single year a layer deeper of really appreciating myself and taking good care of myself. So it just happens that, I've now been more discerning about when it's really good for me to push and go, 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 and I'm energized and inspired to do it. Then also right before Mandy and I hit record, we were just talking about like, oh, what'd you do yesterday? And we're recording this. The Super Bowl was yesterday. Steve and I, we like if we didn't have to do our food shopping, we would have stayed in our pajamas all day. Now the old me, I would have felt really bad and like guilty, and I was lazy. And now it is so different. It's like, oh, I got to spend the whole day with my husband in our pajamas, and we got to just like enjoy. It was snowing here, so a little bit of a snow day, and it was just like I don't feel any which way about it, and I actually feel like, wow, that's actually part of my strategy in taking optimal care of myself. Now I understand its place, and I'm not a terrible person. I'm not bad. I'm not lazy. I'm not wrong. I'm not all those things like you were just saying. How your mom wishes, like, why do we have to have it wear it like a badge of honor, the busyness.
Yeah.
I used to do that. I
Hmm.
absolutely did that. Type A personality. So proud of that, of like, go, 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 accomplish. And now I'm still an ambitious person. You know me. I mean, I'm up to a lot of things and I'm inventing a product and also it's just changed how I manage my energy because I've built up this good case of really what it looks to take care of myself, and that I deserve it. Not like I deserve to take care of myself. Not like that kind of like put your foot down, like rebellious I deserve.
Yeah.
Not like that. That's different. It's more like an ownership of the contentment around I deserve to feel good. Period. Like a statement, not a defense,
Hmm.
to defend anything, you know? And there's a
Yeah.
difference.
And you know what I did today? That
What?
was very a big deal. We work out together, me and Dana, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And today I texted her and I said, I'm not going to be there today. See you later at our on Google or whatever we are on. Uh, Zoom. We're on Zoom. Um, so I was like, see you later. And I didn't tell her why, which is big for me. Because usually I have to like give like a whole explanation because first of all, I love exercising. I love working out 3 times a week. And I feel like it's like if I don't do it, I used to think I needed a really good excuse not to work out because, it's I'm supposed to work out and all those things. Well, today, I decided it's so nice. It's just such a nice day that when it's a beautiful day, I love to clean. And that just feels so good at the end of the day to like have everything smell good and open the window a little bit. That was my self-care today. And yes, you move your body. And yes, you sweat when you're cleaning the house. And especially when you're really motivated and you're listening to good music. And I don't feel like I didn't accomplish anything because I didn't work out or oh I did this and I did that because it didn't work out. it's it's a huge transition or huge change in my mindset from 2 years ago when I would sit there and I would just be tormented over what the right thing to do is today. I need to
Mhm.
clean, but I also need to work out. How am I going to do that if I don't do all the things? Like I'm not going to be accomplished today and I'll feel bad about myself. And now because I give myself a break and I do what feels good. At the end of the day, it really is all about what I feel good about. Dana doesn't care. I mean, she cares, but she
Yeah.
doesn't care. Like
Yeah.
she'd feel bad. Like, are you okay if you're not doing anything? That's weird because that's not really Mandy. I'm a real go-getter. I like to do stuff. I always have a thing. But yeah, it's like that whole like I didn't give an explanation. I just said what I'm doing. And that's huge for me. I always needed to, like, even, how you're talking about being busy? I
Yeah.
would lie about being busy.
Yeah.
People
Yeah,
have to,
right?
people have to identify with that. People have to identify with that because it's like, what you do today? Oh, I was so busy. And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't think I was busy.
You're like, I didn't do jack
I didn't
shit.
do anything. I was so busy watching Netflix all day. Like, oh yeah, I was busy. Lie, lie. People have to know what I'm. People have to identify with that.
Oh my God,
I
totally.
can't be the only one.
No, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Because again, there's some sorts of shame around being lazy
Hmm.
or not doing anything. But not
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, not doing anything is actually doing something. You're creating space and peace and a breath, and there's so
Hmm.
much that is self-care and that's self-love right there. It's your attitude about that space of emptiness or doing nothing. Again, it's the meaning you're assigning it. What is the meaning you assign love? What does that mean to you? What is the meaning you're assigning pulling back and taking space and taking a breath? What does that mean to you? That's really, you reframe that little bit over time, and so when Mandy, you text me and said you weren't going to make, she calls it recess.
I
Mandy
call
calls
it
it,
reset.
talk about reframing,
I
just
call it reset.
exercise, but to make it more fun, we're
Recess
going
is
to
fun.
recess.
My favorite part of school is recess.
But when you text that, I wasn't even, you're a grown ass woman.
Mhm.
I've said this time and time again when I start working with a client. This is not a codependent relationship. I'm here to empower you. I trust you're making the best decisions for yourself. Only you know what's best for you. I can just meet you and support you wherever you're at. And and that's that. And I think that that's also important to just say in on the topic of self-love, and as you're exploring that and really coming into your own, that sometimes along the way you'll see part of it is letting go of some of the relationships that are not so supportive, with them being on board with also their own journey of what it's like to really care and honor themselves and take care of themselves and getting their needs met. Sometimes that also happens along the way where there's just some friendships or relationships you're like, okay, especially if it's family, okay, you have to hang out with family. Or do you?
Yeah,
I don't.
right. Yeah.
Fewer and farther between, but that is also how you're treating yourself. What are you exposing yourself to? So there are so many little elements to self-love and what that
Hmm.
actually means. Only you can define it. But I think the reason Mandy and I wanted to come together and talk about this is because it and can you can work your way towards it incrementally. I think it's a fallacy to think all of a sudden one day you're just gonna be like, oh, I love myself. I'm gonna drop the 50 pounds and I'm gonna love myself. No, it doesn't work that way.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So what are so let's tie up this conversation. What are some of the words that come to mind for you, Mandy? If
Hmm.
it's not self-love, what are the other things that I think are could be supportive words people can keep in mind to take care of themselves?
I really think that care is big for me again because I'm the only person who's going to take care of myself. Giving myself grace and not being so hard on myself.
Hmm.
The way you would care for unconditional care for somebody else. Like I said, that's the only way I could really reframe it for myself is to re- know that this is me. I was given this one body, this one soul, this one life, and take care of me now, take care of me later, you know?
Mm-hmm. Ah, yes, 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 yes. Which
Mhm.
I know you and I touched on that in our last conversation. Is this good for me now and good for me later? Is this just good for me now and then I'm paying for it later? Like being
Mhm.
able to assess that
Mhm.
that for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
What about you? What is it that you would say is self-love for you or love in general?
Self-love. I think a lot of it, I had to learn good boundaries. Um, I had to learn to say no to things, because I would feel this, like, I realized when I would say yes to things, it would create this emotional turmoil of more aggravated with myself because I have to do something I don't want to do. So I started to identify those places that felt like I was abandoning myself. Like I was abandoning or rejecting myself in some way. So I feel like for me, it's like you hear the elimination diet. It was my elimination of, the true elimination diet is like the get identifying those things that, wow, I really don't want to do this. This does not bring me happiness or joy. And to be like self-reflective about that. Like
Mm.
what's really happening there and to be honest with myself. Being honest with yourself is a necessary part of this entire process. If you keep lying to yourself, then you'll probably stay in the loathing. It's like a
Oh,
feedback.
oh yeah, self like the honesty.
Yeah.
That's hard because I don't even know sometimes how to be honest with myself sometimes. Like that's why I
Yeah.
said like I would sit there and I would go over it over and over and try and figure out what I actually want to do today. Do I want to work out? Do I want to clean? Do I want to go for a walk outside? I have no idea. It took
Yeah.
me forever to figure
I
out what I
know.
wanted to do. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, yeah,
Yep.
but
Yep.
now I'm just like so much looser about it. It's like just do something.
Yeah.
Chill
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
chill out.
Yeah. So like these days, I think about like, like just my feeling good about myself sometimes comes in the form of a grueling workout.
Mm,
Sometimes it comes in the form of having an uncomfortable conversation and doing something that may in the moment feel like it's the wrong thing to do because other people might hurt people's feelings or something like that. But in the long run, it's serving me because it's what I ultimately want for my future. So that was like little by little, I started gaining trust in myself and confidence in myself, and then therefore started to really respect myself. And then really started to like, oh, this is what it might feel like to love myself, you know? And like, so yeah, so
it
it
takes
was,
practice.
it does, it takes practice. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It takes practice, it takes grace. Let yourself fuck up.
Hmm.
It's like you take a couple steps forward and you take a step back, and it's okay to get that wrong. Like, but you've got to start to experiment with what is that like to really take care of yourself.
Hmm.
And yeah. So,
A couple weeks ago, I was actually, I wasn't taking care of myself. And by the end of the week, I realized I was in a really bitchy mood. And I was like, I know the reason why I'm in a bitchy mood is because I haven't been taking care of myself. Like working out, I love to work out. It helps me with my anxiety, my mood. I'm just better when I do it. And yes, I always hated girls who said that, by the way, and now I'm one of them. but like, but yeah, like practice, like I messed up. I don't want to do that again. Next time, I'm not going to do that. Next time, when I'm feeling shitty, I'm just like you said, a grueling workout feels good when you're just like feeling angsty. That can be self love. That can be it. And like over the weekend, I got outside. I went for a walk. I hugged a tree. It was great.
and I think it is important to pay attention if you are in a bitchy mood and you're irritable. It's
Hmm.
probably because there are ways that you're rejecting, abandoning, neglecting yourself and your needs. And so I would use that as like, yeah, because I noticed with myself too. I'm so glad you brought up the bitchy thing because same thing. I'm very rarely am I in a bitchy mood. If it does happen, it's actually because it's circumstantial. I've been overscheduled. I've been to the point back to back where it's like, oh my God, I didn't even get to like have lunch today. That's like I get upset about that because it's not ultimately how I want to take care of myself. And so then I end up like internalizing that and getting like kind of pissed at myself. So then I have a shorter fuse and like then I get a little bitchy and a little irritable. So now when that happens, like my finger's on the pulse with that. So I don't let it go off the rails. And I certainly don't want to take it out on anybody, even my husband. I don't want to take it out on my husband. It's not his fault. So it's like, and I don't, I'll typically get quiet, I
Hmm.
get quiet, but then I can assess like, okay, where am I not taking care of myself this week?
Hmm.
And then I could just course correct. I just find that my tolerance for that level of discomfort in not taking care of myself has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, right? The tolerance used to be huge, and now it's like, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Now it's like non-negotiables, boundaries. Nope, I'll say no to things because I've got to take care of myself.
It's interesting too, because what I'm thinking about is when I'm working out with you, I often think about how like I'm getting used to feeling the discomfort in like a plank or in a weight, where before it was like, I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't like this feeling because my body's like, what are you doing? And now it's like I know that I'll be pushing through that and I'll be like, this is good for me. This feels good. I'm gonna feel so much better when I'm done. Where on the other side of it, the you got used to, or I got used to, people get used to being like uncomfortable and maybe tired all the time, highly caffeinated, not, just draggy, all those things that we get used to. And now if you're feeling that way, you're like, ugh, I didn't work out today, or ugh, I didn't eat because I know this is what it was, because I don't like to feel that discomfort anymore.
Yeah, I think so much of it is the discernment of that discomfort. Like the
Hmm.
discomfort of lifting back in the day used to feel horrible. And
Yeah.
now you're like, wait a second, hold on, because now I understand the benefits on the other side of it, how ultimately it does make me stronger and I feel so good and my sleep is better and I'm more patient, all the things. So you've
Yes.
hung in there through that
Hmm.
discomfort and now you're able to be more discerning about it. Whereas back in the day, if you didn't give yourself the opportunity to move past a couple of the sore sessions in the beginning when you'd start working out, you never got through that to really understand the difference. Just like, oh, this is just bad. This is bad. This feels bad. I'm not doing this. This is uncomfortable. But in that regard, it's a healthy level of discomfort.
Hmm.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Healthy
So,
level of discomfort when you're working out, when you're figuring out boundaries, when you're figuring out all the things.
mhm,
There's going to
mhm.
be discomfort.
So, all right. So we'd love to hear your thoughts about, self-love, your process of that. Are you just trying to loathe yourself a little less today? And if that's the case, give yourself grace. You're exactly where you need to be. There's nowhere else you could be. Otherwise, you would be there. My clients hear me say that all the time, and I mean it. I really mean it. The acceptance of being where you're at is so vital. Um, all right. So thanks for this awesome talk today, Mandy, an
Yeah.
important one. And yeah, so if you want to find out more about our mentorship program, we're going to leave a link below this video and you can book a call with Mandy and ask away, ask the questions. What is like exactly how? I don't understand the self-love. How? And she can show you module by module of like the uncovering process and how so many of my clients have experienced that for themselves and in their own terms, in their own journey, on their own timeline. Everyone's a little different, and we really respect that around here. So we invite you to come in and have a conversation with Mandy if it's calling to you to heal your relationship with food, with your body, and just like, oh, it's not even I want to loathe myself less. I really am like, I know there's so much more in life than this. There
Mm.
is. There is. Okay. All right. Awesome. So, all right, Mandy and I will see you in the next one.
We'll see you in the next one. Sounds good.